Welcome back to our mental health podcast, Minded, where we are spiritually minded in our discussions, community-minded in mission, and like-minded in the hope that we have in Christ. Thank you again for joining us for yet another episode. And today we have a very special guest with us who's going to be sharing her personal testimony about her struggles with mental health and addictions and the road that led to her recovery. Welcome, Jeneé.
Thank you, Dee. It's a pleasure.
It is such an honor to have you here today. And I think we have to give the viewers just a little bit of background, a little bit of context on how you came to be a guest on the episode on today. And it wasn't anything that we initially planned, right?
No, not at all.
I like to say it was very organic how it happened. And so, as you know, the few Sundays ago, maybe 3 Sundays ago or
About
so,
3 Sundays ago.
I had gone to the first service and decided to hang around to hear the worship for the second service, but I was going to hang out in the lobby, hang out at the Next Steps table, which sits adjacent from one of the entrances to the church, which you were an usher that day. And so you finish up.
Well, I was an usher that day, and I too was at the 9 o'clock service. For whatever reason, I'm always made an usher at the 11 o'clock service. But what I like to do sometimes, because my husband attends a different church, sometimes I will leave our service and go and join him at his. And that particular day I was going to try to do that. So I was looking around. I was like, well, if I leave, who's going to open the doors when the service is over? And so I was looking at the people at the other door. I was like, well, maybe I can go down there and ask them. And you happened to be sitting to the table right behind the door. And so when I walked out, I said, hey, Dee, I said, I want to go join my husband at his church. Do you mind opening the doors after service is over? And you said, yeah. And I think that's where we both got stuck, because we can't remember how the rest of the
From
conversation
there, we just started
went.
talking about where you were headed.
Yeah.
And we started talking about church. And we started reminiscing about how it's been almost, 10 years since we did the Israel trip together.
To Israel, yes.
And you just started sharing aspects of your life that I had no idea about. Not that I would have known, but I just was like, oh, I never knew that that was part of your testimony. That was part of your journey and part of your healing. And as you were talking, I was saying to myself, she's got to be on the podcast. She's got to be on the podcast. And I think I asked you that same day, would you be a guest on the podcast? I think you have a story to tell that someone needs to hear. And the whole premise of the mental health podcast, on some episodes, I'll have mental health professionals, therapists, counselors. On other episodes, I have people that have walked the walk, have traveled the road and dealt with anxiety, depression, grief, loss. Because I think it's important for people to not only hear from professionals, that's important too, but I think an even more complete picture is to see someone that has journeyed that road.
Yes.
And has been through the storm, or maybe even currently in it, but knowing that they're coming out of the storm.
Right.
And so that's how we ended up here today.
That is, and thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not sure where you want me to begin, but
no, that's okay.
However, in my talks with you, as I said, where I was almost 10 years ago to where I am today, is nothing but God, and I give it all the honor there, because I couldn't do it on myself. Other avenues didn't help me, and when I think about and go back over my life now, I can look at how I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now.
And that is so powerful when we can reflect and see God's hand, how God's hand was in and over our lives in hindsight. And sometimes when we're in it, we don't obviously sometimes see it. Right. So why don't we take the people back to the beginning when you first recognized or realized that, you know what, maybe I have a problem, and then tell us what that drug of choice was when you realized that maybe you have a problem. This isn't just something I'm casually doing.
As I shared with you before, I can't remember when it stopped being fun. You know what I mean? I just know that alcohol started to take over my life.
Okay.
I started drinking and using drugs, and even when I didn't want to. It became, today is not going to be one of those days, and I couldn't not.
Do you remember when you took your first drink?
I was young, very, very young. And it kind of started when growing up in a household where there was alcohol there, you know. And again, I was always, I guess, somewhat of a free spirit. So I didn't hide a lot, but I found courage, as they call it, liquid courage.
Okay.
And I started off liking the way that it made me feel. It gave me confidence, so I thought. I was able to talk, you know. I would say I was the life of the party, you know what I mean? And that's how, it, I mean, just like in a high school, in college, I was going with what I thought was the norm, because of the company that I was keeping, and I didn't see anything wrong with it.
So drinking sounds like very normalized in your family. And in your
particular
circle
members.
of friends, with certain members. Okay, so it was normalized with certain family members.
Yes.
And then within some of your circle of friends, it was normal.
All of my circle of friends, pretty much.
Okay.
Because like people hang with like people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, yes, and unfortunately, we know how to seek each other out, So to me, I was doing what everybody did. And it was fun. It was growing up. It was, it wasn't as out of control then. The older that I got, there would be times of sobriety, planned or unplanned, different times. And then I remember getting closer into maybe my 30s where it became every day. Pretty much.
So it progressively, would you say, increased?
It increased. Unbeknownst to me, that's why I say I can't remember when it wasn't fun anymore, because it just kind of went along with the lifestyle. You know what I mean? I mean, I was always in a job, because I was a, so to speak, if you want to call it, closet alcoholic.
And I think some people call it functioning as well. Yeah. Like you said you held a job.
I held a job.
Went to work faithfully.
Went to work, paid my bills. I'm never without. My lights were never turned off. My refrigerator was never without food. I was able to dress my children, dress myself. I mean, on the outside, everything looked absolutely normal.
And isn't that how it happens? So sometimes where we get sometimes fooled, or we fool ourselves, or other people, like, I never knew because they seem so, and then fill in the blank, put together, or they seem so, always together, and they always work, or their kids always look nice, their kids are mannerly, so on the outside, by all appearances, your life is perfect.
Yeah, you would think. I'd even convinced myself that it was. I always go back and I think about my life then, and I was actually like that pretty red apple. Dressed up on the outside, put together on the outside, but the moment you bit into that apple, it was rotten and you didn't know it, because inside I was miserable. Inside I was hurt. Inside I was angry, with things that happened to me as a child, um, feeling inferior to other people. Self-esteem was just at a very low, you
Mm.
know. And again, that's where the alcohol came into play, because then I felt like I was somebody.
So the alcohol was a way to cope and to mask those feelings of anger from the
Yeah,
childhood, or numb out those
it numbed
memories
me.
or thoughts.
Yes, yes, and it made me forget.
Mm.
I could laugh, you know. Um, was it a genuine laugh? Absolutely not. But it was enough to get me through.
And I would imagine that, like with anything that we use to try to cope, on some level it works for a while. Like we
Mm-hmm.
feel better for a while, whether that
Mm-hmm.
a while is a day, whether it's 10 days, whether it's an hour. For that hour, for that week, we forget or we put it on the back burner. But eventually it comes
It
around,
comes
and
right
that's
back.
where you pick up that drink or the drug, whatever it is, because now I have to kind of chase that high to get that same high or fix or whatever it was that
Right.
you initially had.
Yeah, you do it because you feel good, but then the next morning,
Mm.
the guilt sets in. So then you gotta re-up all over again.
Mm-hmm.
To now you don't want to feel that guilty feeling
Yeah.
anymore. You don't want to think about the money that you spent the night before, if you can remember. If
Mm.
I could remember what I even, because yeah, there were blackout periods and things
Okay.
like that. Driving when I had no business on the road, and
Mm-hmm.
just the amount of times that it had to be nothing but God's hand on me that I didn't kill myself or someone else,
Right.
because of my irresponsible actions.
Now you claim that you called it like that closet alcoholic. So certain people didn't know. What about were you married at this time? Like, did your husband know, or
Through
was
some
he?
of it.
Okay.
Um, but toward my end, and I say when I was at the lowest of the low, yes, I was married. Um, However, I must say that God did bless me with a soulmate. And I say that because when others turned their back on me, he stayed.
Mm.
He told me that he would love me until I learned to love myself, because he saw something in me that I couldn't see. Um, he prayed over me daily.
Mm.
He protected me as much as he could. And he loved me as much as I would allow him to, you know. And for that, and he knows, I am grateful, because
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say if I didn't have him, I may not be sitting here, because again, there were other friends and family that wanted nothing to do with me.
Mm.
They turned their back on me, but he never did. And as much pain as I caused him,
Mm-hmm.
he still stuck and stayed with me,
Wow.
And I remember asking him, why are you still here? If I could leave me, I would. That's how low I
Mm-hmm.
was. And I think I told you before, I've been to hell. The
Mm.
only difference between me and the person in the ground is I didn't have the 6 feet of dirt on my face, So, um, suicidal, yeah,
So you
been
struggle
there,
with
done that.
suicidal thoughts
Actions,
and actions as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Um, then I went through the period of just angry with everyone,
Mm-hmm.
because of the self-hate
Mm.
that I had for myself, because I'm fighting a demon that was controlling me.
It almost sounds like, as you're describing it, like things at some point begin to spiral out of control. Like the drinking increased, and then the suicidal actions, attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Was alcohol, we talked before, alcohol almost became like a gateway
Yeah,
to another
to
drug?
cocaine. Yes. Um, and as I would say, I could sit in a boardroom doing multi-million-dollar deals with people during the day, and at night I'm sitting at a table with a straw up my nose, you know, um, a bottle in my hand, and trying to juggle these two lifestyles. Um, and it became very difficult, and it became to the point where I had no idea who
Yeah.
I was. You know, I it's only been in the last 10 or so years I even began to like me enough to even figure out who I even am. You know, majority of my adult life was always in some sort of self-medication. You know, something that always took me out of myself.
Okay.
You know, so
It's like a relearning and a rediscovery, it sounds like, all
it
over again.
it was, yeah, yeah, because I now I'm trying. I didn't even know what I liked and disliked, because the company that I was keeping, a lot of times I found out was the company because I had the means to supply what everybody wanted,
Okay.
you know, and I tried to buy love, you know, um, because I wanted to be liked.
So, Jeneé, and I know you said it kind of all blended together when it stopped becoming fun, but do you remember a moment or a defining time where you said to yourself or said out loud or said to your husband or a family member, enough is enough? What was that defining moment, if you can think, if there was one for you?
I remember one time, because again, closet, I was at home, and I was angry with God because, and this is verbatim my conversation with God. I mean, why? When I do go to sleep, why do you keep waking me up? If you're the begin all and end all, and you already know what I'm gonna do before I do it, why? Let me go. Leave me alone. I mean,
Right.
I keep hurting myself, and I'm gonna hurt myself. So, where's your power now? You know, and I remember and I just felt him saying. He said, "Because I'm not done with you yet." He said, "I mean, I'm allowing you to do as you do because I'm just waiting on the day for you to choose me, Jeneé. I give you a chance every single day, like you said, when you do wake up, to choose me."
So you, throughout this whole journey, you knew of God.
Yeah.
You believed in God.
Absolutely.
But you were angry with him at the same time.
Didn't like him. I remember being asked one time, is this more powerful than God? And I had to say, yeah. It was that grip was just that powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a stronghold. It grips every area of your life and affects other areas of your life and other people connected
right.
to you. So I know I've heard other people say that they do things and choose people that they wouldn't have chosen without the addiction.
It's a painful place to be, It's a place where um, you can't identify with anybody else. You can't identify with love. Or anything. To me, I couldn't identify with anything positive.
Okay.
Because I couldn't find nothing positive about myself. So I lived in the negative. I
abused myself. And the main thing that hurt the most was all I wanted to do was hurt me. But unfortunately, others got caught in the crossfire, you know. And I hurt my children. I hurt my parents. I hurt my siblings. I hurt my husband, you know, and that was never my intent, you
You
know.
just wanted to hurt
I
yourself.
just wanted the pain to stop,
Yeah.
you know. The traumas of my childhood.
Okay.
Um, I remember starting to have dreams about things that had happened to me, and I think I didn't want to sleep. I didn't want to go to sleep, so I had to stay awake
had to
some
stay
kind of
awake,
way, because
right.
if I went to sleep, I was gonna have those dreams. Um, and so again, it was just this vicious cycle. Um, However, I do remember one of the defining moments in my life was um, laying prostrate before God and saying, I give up. I can't fight any longer. If you love me, will you please just show me something? Give me a sign that I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And he sat down and he talked to me and he said, you're mine. He said, you're always allowing these titles that society put on you to define you. He said, when you come to me and say, would you please forgive me? What do I do with that? Just thrown into the sea of forgetfulness, right? So, why do you feel that you have to keep thinking and referring to yourself and your identity are these words that society told you? You're not a product of molestation. You're not an alcoholic. You're not an addict. You're not a depressant. I never called you any of those things. That's what society said you were. Your name is Candace Jeneé Gray, and you're a child of God. That's the only title that goes behind your name. It felt like the world came off of my shoulders.
Because for so long you had identified yourself
Those
as
were the
things.
adjectives that made me, you know. And now I'm like, he told me, he said, I don't know that Jeneé anymore. She's gone. She's dead. I have given you a new birth in me. So stop referring to yourself as those people. That's not who you are, you know? But I allowed you to walk your journey and to be who you felt you needed to be, because I knew you were going to choose me one day. And he said, I allowed you to stay in that valley until you came to me and said, God, I'm ready to come out. And that's when I reached down and I picked you up. I said, but why me? He said, because you're going to have the boldness to reach down and help pick some of my other children up out of that valley.
And so that surrender, that night or that day that you surrendered and you cried out to him and he responded back to you basically that you're a child of his and that's your identity and that's the only identity that matters. Some people, their road to recovery includes counseling, NA, AA, all these other modalities. And everybody, I always tell my audience, everybody's different. So there's not a one size fit all. What works for someone else might not work for someone else.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for someone else. So for you, what did your road to recovery look like? What are some of the things that helped you in your recovery?
I tried rehabs. I did. However, again, because of the level of my self-esteem, again, I identified standing up. Hello, my name is Jeneé and I'm an alcoholic. I felt degrading. I was you know what I mean? Because that was an ugly title to me. It had not a positive,
Mm-hmm.
you know, feeling about it whatsoever. So again, it was like I kept living in my past and kept referring to myself as that person, and I was not able to move past it and to go forward.
So for you, it was almost like the behavior of the alcoholism and your identity, you felt like it was like merging together. Like that's who they were saying that. That's how you heard that. Like that's how you saw yourself as this is who I am.
That's who I am. And but the relief I found was when God told me that's not who you are.
Okay.
My children aren't those names. That doesn't define my children. He said, "You're my child." That's the title that goes behind your name. And again, that gave me hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that gave me a glimmer of hope that I'm okay. I'm not that bad. God, you really don't look at me that way? No, because she's dead. She no longer exists.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you came to me and you surrendered and said, "Here I am,
Yeah.
use me,"
You became a new creation.
I became a new creature in Him.
Yeah.
So I don't see that former person anymore. I choose to see a person that went on a journey. I feel that that journey, I was chosen to walk that journey
Mm-hmm.
because, again, He told me He could have selected anybody, but He needed a bold soul to spread His word
Mm-hmm.
to those other sick and suffering men and women that are out here. And that's why it's not hard for me to share my story anymore.
Okay.
And by no means am I glorifying it. Please don't take that from it. But that journey is what made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me appreciate people,
Mm-hmm.
makes me appreciate myself. It gives me the hope
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, when I see another person that said, "Thank you for sharing with me," it gives me hope, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell if He did it for me, what do you think He will
Exactly.
do for you?
Exactly.
You know? And so I don't look at my journey anymore as a hindrance or that negative. I was chosen.
You're chosen for a purpose, so you turn
Yes.
that pain into purpose, and that's to help
Yes.
someone else to share
Absolutely.
the grace and the mercy that God showed
That-
you, and to say the same grace and mercy He's given me and that He gives me is available to you as well.
Listen, I didn't look in the mirror for years because I didn't like the reflection that came back at me. Girl, bye, I can't stay out of the mirror now. I mean, I love me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I like me. I enjoy my own company now. Now, don't get me wrong. And I'm so healed that no, that monkey still rears his ugly head.
So that kind of leads to my next question. What boundaries or guidelines do you put in place for yourself now to maintain your recovery?
I have a support group like no other.
Okay.
Between my family and my sisters in Christ, my brothers in Christ. I don't go up in here unsupervised because I can easily convince myself of things that are not very good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put myself in atmospheres where I give the enemy the opportunity to test me. If I do, I make sure I have my security blankets, being my husband, my children,
my spiritual sisters. I'm rarely outside of um, home alone,
Okay.
basically. I mean, of course, I go to work and things like that, but you know, I don't. I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
I was invited to go learn line dancing, um, but it was held at, I think it's, I don't know if I should say the name of the place, but it's a place that serves alcohol.
Okay, that's good.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
mm-mm, mm-mm. I don't want to dance that bad, you know,
Right,
because again,
right.
you don't put a diabetic in a candy shop and tell him not to eat candy, because eventually he's gonna try. I'm gonna just
Try a
try
little piece,
a
just one
little
piece
piece
of
of
candy.
candy. But I've also learned that, you know, you drink 6 beers. I didn't get drunk off of the 6th beer. I got drunk off the first beer, because if I never picked up the first one,
There wouldn't
the
have been
6th one
this.
would have never come into play. So those are the type of
Mm-hmm.
thoughts that I have. You know, I have to pass liquor stores all day, every day to get from point A to point B. Pick up the, hey, what are you doing today? How are you feeling? Just to get out of my own head. I don't
Okay.
test myself at, oh, I can get home. I don't have to call anybody. I'm not that proud anymore, Dee.
So you've humbled yourself and
I
allowed people,
to step
trustworthy
in.
people, to
If
be
you
accountable
tell
to.
me, call me, I'm here for you,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
You're
going
gonna
to call
call,
you
and that's the way
until
it
you
should
tell
be,
me
right?
not to.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I use the resources that tell me that they're available for me. I'm not too proud to save my life.
And we're not in this walk alone, whether you're dealing with addictions, whether you're dealing with other issues, whatever the
Yeah,
other issues are,
yeah.
we're not meant to do it by ourselves. We're not meant to white knuckle it to say, okay, I can do this by myself. I don't need anybody. Yes, we do.
Yes, I do.
We don't need just anybody. We need the right people in our corner, the right people on our path, the right people within our circle. And that sounds like that's what you have surrounded yourself
Yes,
with.
and you know, in the rooms of AA and NA, they have a saying, you're only as sick as your secrets. I don't have any secrets. I'm a transparent, open book. For what? Because I don't do anything today that has to be a secret to anybody. And when I have those thoughts, my grandmother taught me a long time ago, um, when you tell on the devil, he loses his power. So I tell on that joker every opportunity I get, and regardless of how small it is. I can look at my husband and say, monkey's on my back, I don't feel right. Okay, babe, what do you want to do then? And I don't have to worry about it. You know, I can call my daughters and say, talk mommy home, you know, and it doesn't have to go into, you know, a dialogue about, oh, I just wanted to stop to the liquor store. Or, you know, I don't have to go into all of that. They already know, because I've become so transparent
That they
to
know
the
what that
people
means
that
when you.
I talk to. They already know, you know, and before I know it, guess what? I woke up the next day and I'm still sober.
And so it literally is taking it one day, one moment
At a time.
at a time. And I think sometimes we try to look so far down the road, like stay present, stay in the moment. In the moment, what do you need? In the moment, who do you need? In the moment, you know, do you need to talk to someone? In the moment, do you need to take a break and take 5 and do something different? Instead of looking at, well, next week, I don't know what I'm going to do next week. No, what do we need right now and in this moment?
I tell my family, the only present I can give you is the present. I can't promise you next week, because I don't know what next week holds for me. So don't ask me to make a promise I may not be able to keep.
Right.
Nobody knows that. You know, I don't live in the future, but I plan for the future. You know what I mean?
That's a good
I don't
distinction.
sit there and say, you know, what I'm going to do, because you never know what curveball life is going to throw at you. However, I do put into place security. I put into place, you know, how not to allow that enemy to, because if I get that little chink in my armor, hopefully enough people know me well enough now to say, I got you. See, I don't allow myself to live in fear. I don't live in fear of
driving past a liquor store, am I going to stop? Because God told me I have nothing to fear as long as I keep him first.
Right.
You know, and I do, and I'm honest with people. I don't try to sit back and think I got it all. I don't sit back and try to think that I don't need to sit down and talk to you, because he probably had me sit down and talk to you that Sunday because I needed to.
Because you needed it.
I didn't, you know what I mean? And I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I never knew you didn't look like." I said, "Well, what do we look like?"
Exactly. But we get so caught up on that. Sometimes when
Yeah.
we think of addictions, we think of the people stumbling down the street with a wine bottle and a paper
Absolutely.
bag, or with someone that's, looking half, out of it, walking down the street. But that's not always the picture.
And sad to say, but sometimes you got look at your lawyer, look at your doctor, look at your teacher, look at that girl that you sat next to in class. You just
Exactly, you just
never
didn't know.
ever know, which is another thing I try to do is monitor my words, because words matter.
Okay.
Words hurt me a lot because of and made me feel certain ways, that things that people would say to me, and I took to heart, and I allowed people to dictate my day. But today, nobody has the power to dictate my day but God and me. I don't give anybody that power. Grandma also told me, he who angers you controls you. No one will ever get that power over me. Because guess what? You just made me so mad, and I'm sitting there, blood pressure up here, and guess what? You done walked off and made somebody else mad. You don't even realize
I'm on to something
what you've
else.
done to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Enjoying my day, and
can't give
your
in.
day has been ruined.
Yeah. But I've also learned, guess what? I can start my day over at any time.
So it sounds like you've had a lot of new perspectives on life in general, on your worth and identity. And it sounds like mainly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like NA and AA, you got some things out of it. But it sounds like in addition to that, you had such a strong support network of family, certain family and friends, and your faith. Seems like that was a huge cornerstone.
I had to find that desire to want to live again.
Okay.
I had to want to be a mother to my children. I had to want to be a wife to my husband. I had to want to be a woman, to be able to love herself. See, I fight for my life every single day. Now, I can take that fight and allow it to consume me to the point of misery, or I can take that fight to the point where it gives me joy to say, I did it again. I can sit here and talk to you with a woman with confidence, with love for herself, with love for other people, with no judgment, against anyone else. And also be a woman that can admit when she's made a mistake.
That goes back to that humility.
Yeah.
Again.
And actually to be, do I say my age?
Sure, why not? Go ahead, go for it.
To be 60 years old and to look at me, myself, and say, you are all that in a bag of chips. And just feel it. To finally in life, to understand and actually feel what happiness really is. I never knew.
Yeah.
Because every time, either in addiction or out of it, I felt like I'm about to get happy. I would sabotage myself because I would hurt myself again before I would allow anybody else to do it. So that's why I stayed on that vicious cycle. You see what I'm saying? But now, you're not going to hurt me. And I'm definitely not going to hurt me. If you can't bring me some love, some joy, some positivity, something to enhance my life, you got to go. And I'm sorry, I don't care what role you have in my life. If you can't embrace life the way that God has given me the second chance to embrace it, we have no conversation.
So it sounds like one of the ways that you've also guarded your sobriety, your recovery, is also by guarding your peace and knowing what brings you peace and what could potentially rob you of your peace, whether that's a person, place, or thing. And so then to be selective on what that looks like, be selective in who you allow in and what you allow in, and to be okay with that.
Yeah. And I mean, and there, and okay, let's get it twisted, because I still pop off sometimes,
yeah.
you know, because again, I am still human, but I can say 95% of my days now are days of joy. When I lost my mother, be 3 years in November, I had a support group that, you know what, I really didn't even think about hurting myself, because I made a promise to my mother. I said, Mommy, go to sleep. You can go to sleep. I'm going to be okay. And I promise to live my life so that I'll see you again. And I can't break my promise to Mommy. I can't do that, because I want to see her. There's no doubt in my mind where my mom is. You know what I mean? So and on days when I feel that the enemy wants to touch me a little bit, when I feel I can't do it for myself, because maybe I'm having a bad day.
Right.
Maybe I'm having a bad hair day or something like that. I look at my grandchildren. I think about that gift of a man that God gave me called a husband. I think about my children. And then I have to play it out in my mind all the way and say, is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
No, it's not. Not today, and it wasn't yesterday. I don't know anything about tomorrow, so I can't even speak on that. But for today,
staying present in
for
today.
today, I'm going to go home when I leave here, and I'm going to enjoy my family. I'm going to enjoy my life. If I was obedient enough, I'd go work out, but I'm not there yet either.
You're a work in progress.
I got great intentions, though.
Work in progress.
I got great intentions, but I have to say that the one thing I could say to anybody seeing or listening to this podcast is give yourself a break. Just give yourself a break. I promise you, when you just dig deep and just know that God loves you, and there's somebody out there that needs you and loves you too. And I hold on to that God loves me and my family loves me, and I'm worthy of that love.
Exactly.
See, I didn't feel worthy.
You didn't feel
I
worthy
wasn't
before.
supposed to. Like, why you want to love me? Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm nothing.
I remember you shared that when your husband would give you a compliment. Talk about that, when he would give you a compliment.
Yeah, I remember my husband would give me, babe, you look good today. Right. Because my first thought is, what do you want? If you complimented me, you wanted something from me. If you said something nice to me, what are you about to do to me?
There was an angle.
You're going to do something trying to set me up. And I didn't know how. But he did it every day, because he had hope. He had his love for me. And he said, one of these days you're going to be able to take a compliment. So now I'll be like, you didn't say how good I look today. What's wrong with you?
Bring on the compliments.
But come
Bring
on,
them on.
did you see me today?
Right.
So yeah, because at first yes, I was molested as a child, and because you're so cute, you're so pretty, and I hated to be called cute.
Right, because that meant being hurt.
Because you're gonna do something to me. You don't mean that. you're saying that to make me trust you so that you can help me. And it did. It did. And I didn't want to take pictures. I didn't want anybody to say. And it's kind of crazy because I wanted to be pretty, but I didn't know how to be. I didn't know. I would say one of these days I'm going to be cute. But then I was afraid for somebody to say, oh, you're cute.
Because that followed being hurt or being used, being abused.
And and that was the thing, because I was like, girl, you are one twisted sister. Because on one spectrum, I'm trying to get there. On the other spectrum, I'm scared.
But it makes sense, and I wouldn't call you twisted for that. I would say, as a child, for a child to put that together, that was a survival for that child to know, like, okay, if someone says these things to me, again, we're talking about from a child's mind, that equals I'm going to get hurt, or that equals something uncomfortable happening to me that I don't want to have happen. And so to guard yourself against that, you're like, okay, well, people who say these things must want something. That's smart of a child to think that. But what happens when that child becomes an adult and still has that same mindset? Because we know that that's not true. Not everyone that says you're pretty or gives a compliment is abusive. But that child doesn't know that. They just know their immediate reality, their immediate environment, and they generalize it to the rest of their environment for the rest of, or not the rest of their life, but many years beyond that childhood. So now you've got that same belief that you had as a child that's taken over into adulthood. Now that same belief is not adaptive in adulthood. And so your husband unknowingly, well, maybe knowingly, unknowingly, was dismantling that old belief. He was loving you, giving you compliments, and not wanting anything negative, not being manipulative, not wanting to hurt you, so that you learn. You're like, oh, a person can say something nice and not have an ulterior motive and mean it. So your husband was helping you rewrite that script about that belief. So he didn't even realize, but that's what he was doing.
That he is my gift, and I will always call him my gift. He was made for me because I know God knew what I needed when I needed it. And the support that I get now, even now, it's just like, he's my biggest cheerleader. We're each other's biggest cheerleaders, you know what I mean? But he just motivates me to be better. You know, he holds me accountable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He loves me in spite of, you know, good day, bad day. You know, he wakes up with a smile, and I can't help but to smile with him. So I have nothing, I have joy. I have my love of God, my love of my family, my husband, my daughters. And I didn't speak for a very long time.
Because of the addiction.
Because of my addiction. And now they're my best friends.
Was that challenging to heal that relationship, or do you remember when that relationship began to heal?
Making amends and asking forgiveness, and then just allowing, because again, you can give lip service all you want to, okay? My children had to see.
It.
You know, to the point, like my oldest daughter, if I leave the house and come back, I look her straight in the eye. You know, I speak to her so she can smell me. I sit next to her on the chair because I had to rebuild that trust.
Show her.
You know what I mean? And it didn't come overnight, and it was painful too. It was a little painful because I know that pain was there because I did it. But consistency, you know, and just again, and I just had to show myself that I was okay. You know what? And then the trust came back in my actions. I didn't have to say a word.
I think that goes back to living your life without secrets.
Yeah.
So I can sit beside you and get this close and talk to you and know it's going to be okay, or I can look you straight in the eye. I can be transparent. And it sounds like that was really huge for your journey on recovery, is being transparent.
I had to talk of my past. I had to talk of, my insecurities, my pain. I had to talk of, my depression. I had to tell them today is not a good day, and allow people to come in and nurture me, comfort me, hold me, and also push me to say, stop it. That's not who you are. That's not who you are. And I've heard a lot of times, get off of that pity pot, because all you're doing is getting a ring around your butt.
Oh, goodness.
It does absolutely nothing for you,
So you had some people in your life that loved you and could be honest with you.
And my kids. My kids. Oh, let me tell you, I told you my birthday. This is how morbid they could be. They gave me a surprise birthday for my 60th birthday party. My daughter's in the house teaching me and showing me the pose and everything. She said, because one of these pictures might be the one on your obituary.
That is so
Who
morbid.
says that? But we can laugh.
You can laugh now.
I can laugh. I can breathe. I can exhale. I don't have to lie. I don't have to cheat. I don't have to steal. I don't have to,
There's freedom. It sounds like very, very
the shackles
freeing.
have been broken. They have fallen off. And, even a bad day is a great day. I just want everybody to feel what I feel, so that's why I think, again, it's easy for me to share my story.
What would you say, Jeneé, to those that hear your story and it's like, this is great, you restored your relationship with your daughters, your husband is stuck by you, he was your ride or die. What would you say to someone that is kind of struggling in recovery, that does not have that supportive family or supportive significant other? Any words of wisdom you could give to those that are struggling for that support?
Find someone. There's always someone.
Okay.
And it may not be a family member. It might not even be a friend. I'll put my number on the podcast if I have to. That's how dedicated I am to helping people that just want to stop hurting.
And you know what? You made a good point. Sometimes it's not going to be a family. Sometimes we might desperately want it to be. Like, I wish my significant other were supportive, or I wish my family, or maybe they're still hurting and they're not available to you. And sometimes we focus on what we want and who we want it from, but yet that they can't give it to us for whatever reason. And so to try to pivot and maybe look toward people that, may be a AA group, or maybe a NA group, or maybe a small church group or a Bible study, or someone that you can begin to connect with people that are safe and that provide a safe space.
You have got to change, and it's said all the time too, people, places, and things. I can't go where I used to go. I can't talk to who I used to. I can't do the activities that I used to do. I had to want this more than life itself. I had to want and feel that I am deserving to be happy. And nobody beat me worse than I beat myself. And once I stopped beating me up, as God said, get out of my way, I had to get out of my own way.
Right.
And just realize that Rome wasn't built in a day. I didn't become addicted in a day. The healing was not going to be instantaneous and overnight.
But sometimes we want it to be.
We want it to be, absolutely. We want
the quick
everybody
fix.
to forgive you in a day.
Exactly. That's a good point, because that may take a while for people to see the new you and to trust the new you and to believe.
But you gotta be patient.
You gotta be patient.
And again, like I said, if you just give yourself a break, start somewhere. Change small things. You know, because even with the revelations that I told you with my conversation with God, you know, my attitude didn't change automatically. Now, I stopped picking up the alcohol, the drugs, and the cigarettes. Yeah, that was instant. One day, I never forget January 23rd. I told you that. One day when I said, God, here I am. I didn't pick up on the 24th, 25th, 26th. I just didn't. I didn't even realize that was going to be my last day. But I also had to work on me. I had to work on the anger issues that I had. I had to work on the stop letting people stomp all over me issues. Start working on the, stop allowing people to judge me and take me out of myself and make me feel inferior.
You still had to learn how to live because the drugs and the drinking, whatever, those are symptoms to something deeper. Those are manifestations of something deeper. Absolutely. So you deal with that, but you still got to go deeper and go, okay, I need to address the very things that pushed me to the drinking and the drugs or whatever it may have been. And that's the hard work because now you're dealing with these issues and you're not self-medicating. But you're still feeling the hurt. You're still feeling the fear. You're still dealing with anger. You're still dealing with people. You're still working on, mending relationships. And when things don't go right, because, again, it's life be life, and as the kids say, it's not going to be perfect. And so because I stopped, that's great. That's only a piece of the puzzle.
That doesn't even... But again, it's just allowing yourself the freedom.
Yeah.
And once you get a taste of it, you just want more.
So
I'm gonna tell you now.
You want more freedom, is that?
Yeah,
okay.
I chase my recovery like I used to chase that drink and that drug.
I like that.
I chase God the way I used to chase down that drug dealer. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, and I trust God the way I trusted that drug dealer.
Okay.
Yeah. Because again, I had no idea what that could have done to me, but I know what He can do for me. So it wasn't hard. Once I got over my anger of God and just let Him come into my heart and just saw my life changing.
And was that instantaneously?
No.
Getting over the anger, was that a process also?
No.
And some people may hear that because you and I probably grew up in the same type of era, like, don't question God, don't do... Did that... Well, I guess you didn't listen to that part.
Well...
But I think people trip up themselves because, no, God wants us to take our cares. No, we don't want to dishonor Him or blaspheme Him, but God wants us to take... He says to cast our cares on Him, to cast our worries, our fears, our burdens, because He cares for us. And so I think God welcomes the hard questions. He welcomes the transparency. God, I'm angry, and I'm angry at you. I don't understand. Like, I don't think He is standing up there like wagging His finger at us going, Jeneé, you shouldn't be angry at me.
Yeah.
You're a bad girl because you're angry, but I think sometimes growing up, we were made to feel like, don't ever question God or don't say...
But He told me, if you don't ask me the question, how do you get the answer? If I don't ask you a question, Dee, where did you get that jacket from? How am I supposed to get the answer to it?
Right. And I got it from the Gap.
Yeah.
About 20 years ago.
Absolutely. But that's the thing, and I do ask Him questions. I ask Him for direction. I ask Him, do you think this is a good idea for me to do this, Lord? And I try to sit patiently. I'm more successful than others at being patient and waiting on Him.
Yeah.
Because again, I am still hard-headed. I still have to learn some things the hard way. Life by no stretch of the imagination is perfect. I still have my ups and downs. I still have my moments of where I just got to sit back and just get out of my own way.
So this is truly a journey. And again, it's going back to taking each moment at a time.
I embraced my life. I embraced those around me. I embraced you even when I sat down and had that conversation, because this is my therapy. You know, I'm going to get through another night. You know, I will go home again and just glorify God for even this opportunity, that you loved me enough just to give me the strength to sit here and tell people I don't even know,
Right.
you know, and expose the good, the bad, and the ugly, and be okay with it.
And I think exposing the enemy too, because the enemy would have us to sit in shame and silence and in our heads listening to our inner voices, and God doesn't love you. Look at you, you messed up. Or, you know what, you're supposed to be a Christian and you messed up. And I want this podcast to also debunk that. Like, yes, we love God, we're Christians, but guess what? We still make mistakes. We still fall short. But God doesn't keep us there, right? He has made that way of escape, that we can come to him, that we can repent and ask for forgiveness. But I think so many people, again, get in their own way and feel like God is far away because I'm an addict, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And they feel like I can't approach God. But God is saying, I'm here, but God wants us to choose him. He's not going to force himself on us.
No, because, and that's what I asked God too, is and like I said, when I said to him, why do you keep letting me do it? He said, I don't make you do anything. I don't let you, I give you a choice. And I'm just waiting on the day that you choose me.
Choose him.
And I'm so glad that I did. I never knew how beautiful life could be. Even when I lost my mother, I did not realize I could still feel joy. You know what I mean? Because when you experience something devastating like that, the old me, of course, you know where I was going to run to.
Right.
But to deal with that pain with a sober mind, if this doesn't sound crazy, it brought me joy. That I was able to honor my mother, you know, and not disappoint her in her death, just as I made her proud of me to see me sober before she died, you know. And I hold on to that, you know, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. You know, because she too, my mother prayed for me. My mother prayed for me. And to know that I used to make her smile so much, you know, before she passed away, and how she used to look at me and say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. Look at you. Look at your kids. Look at your life.
She was able to see all of that.
She saw all of
what
that.
a blessing.
And she
What a blessing.
saw all of that. To see how my dad looks at me now and just to be dependable to people. When my kids call me, I can pick up the phone. When they say, Mom, well, most of it, how much is what I respond now. Because I know there's a dollar sign
behind that.
But to be able to actually be mom, to have little grandkids that when they see me walk through the door, scream and run. To the things I'm talking about now are priceless. You can't put a money on it. You know, I can't buy this. I couldn't buy that. I tried to buy love, and look where it got me.
Right.
But when I let go and let God, look what it got me.
This abundance of blessings and joy, and it sounds like, again, as I hear you speak, and as I heard you speak last night, and the Sunday that we talked for a bit, I think service kind of ended.
Yeah, we were still talking. I never made it to church.
You never made it to the next service. It's just freedom is the word that comes to mind. This freedom, just being free to be who God purposed you to be from the beginning. You just had to accept it and walk in it. It was all, that gift was already there, always there.
Mm-hmm.
You had to grab a hold of it and accept it. And now that you have, you can it's written just all over your face, the freedom and the joy. It's beyond happiness. It's the joy.
It is.
It's the joy that you have in the Lord. And, that's a fruit of the Spirit. When you allow the Holy Spirit to take over, that joy and is one of the, fruit of the Spirit. And that seems so evident in your talking. And
One of the best things is that takes a lot of weight off of me is when I give it to him, I could leave it there. I don't think enough people understand how much pressure that can take off of you when you truly understand and believe that when he says to give me your burdens and I will take care of them. I'm like, boy, I'm so glad I don't, because again, I believe that when I go to him and say, I don't know what to do with this situation. I don't know how, God, to do with this. Guide me, show me. And sometimes he just says, sit down and shut up. And that's all it takes.
yeah.
The pressures of the world are not overbearing on me anymore. And I don't think I don't have problems and things like that. I do. And again, he also told me, things are going to happen. The only control I have over that is my reaction to it.
Your reaction to it. Yeah.
And so now that I choose to, deal with it because I go to my protector at all times. And, like God told me now, okay, you raised your children to the best of your ability with what you were dealing with and everything. And I have two phenomenal daughters. He said, you only have now pleased me and your husband, that gift that I gave you. All else, I take care of from now on. Do you know the pressure that takes off of you?
Yeah.
That, I love my children, but I love his children because they're not mine. He just gave me the job of raising them. And I had to realize that too. We don't own each other, the ownership we put on each other. So I had to realize that, I did the best that I could. Now, here you go, God. So I just have to take care of this earthly man that he gave me and myself. I don't have any pressure.
Again, the freedom.
The
The freedom that you give yourself when
you
do that.
And all I got to do is when they come after my wallet, run. I just run them. But it's, if I wanted to sum up everything about what we talked about.
And I was going to say, how would you sum this up, or what closing words of wisdom would you want to give to the listeners today?
I would say, just give yourself a break. Know that you are worthy. Know that you are loved. Know that somebody needs you, and there is this thing called happiness. And if you go after it wholeheartedly, you can achieve it. When I let go and let God and gave him control of my life and just said, lead me wherever you want, and I obey, is what got me in this chair right now.
So going after God wholeheartedly.
With everything in me. With everything in me. He's my first thought in the morning. He's my last thought at night. And he definitely walks with me. Because if he didn't, I'd have got stopped by that cop I rode by at 80 miles an hour trying to get here tonight. But he knew I was on the mission and I had to get here. And the gift of laughter. Laugh. I love to laugh. And that's what my family does. I can't let yesterday dictate my life anymore. I have to embrace and enjoy every moment that I have here. Because when God decides to take me home, I truly want my life to be celebrated.
One final question. How many years of sobriety do you have? You have 8 years. Okay, so it'll be 9 in January.
January.
9 in January. 8 great years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? But you can ask me that question, but I would tell you, really, how much time do I have? Just today. Just today.
Just today.
Today is the only day that matters.
Okay.
That's, again, that's history. How long have I been sober? Today. I mean,
so
that's
just staying in the present,
just
staying
staying
in the
in the
moment.
present today. All those other days, help get me to where I am. But today is the only day that matters. Right here, right now.
So that sounds like another piece of advice or word of wisdom you would leave for folks is to stay in the present.
Yeah.
Don't,
Stay
would you
here.
say you can plan for the future,
But I don't live in
but
it.
don't live in it?
Yeah. I'm trying to set up retirement. You know what I mean? But I don't say, oh, I got to run. And I'm going to tell you one more thing, and this is how God showed me too, because I had set up in my mind, and I told myself that when I was paying my mortgage, so I went on that little calculator to tell you how you can pay. Well, if I doubled my mortgage, I could pay my house off in 7 years. So I'm going to go get me a part-time job because I'm going to pay my house off in 7 years.
Love it.
Ended up getting a job as a desk clerk at one of the local hotels here. The week I was supposed to start, I woke up that Sunday morning with vertigo. Oh, my house was doing all of this,
Right.
And I was like, I was supposed to go start this job. Well, for a week, I sat home because I, nursing my body. And God talked to me then. He said, who told you to pay your house off in 7 years? You never talked to me about that. See, that was me. He said, who even said you were going to be in this house in 7 years? You don't know what I have planned for you. So I ended up calling that GM saying, thank you, but no thank you. And it felt again like,
Wait.
because that was my flesh, that was me, thinking I know where I'm going with my life. I never consulted with God. I didn't pray on it. I didn't fast on it. I didn't do anything on it. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm going to go get this job because I'm going to use this money from this job to pay my house off in 7 years. He said, girl, sit down somewhere. So he sat me down and he talked to me when I was home that week by myself and said, I never told you to do that, Jeneé. Why? Again, get out of my way.
Yeah.
I don't, who says I have to pay my house off in 7 years? What was that going to accomplish?
Right.
But I'm 60 years old. Why am I working 2 jobs? I don't have to.
You don't have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing that would have taken away from me,
Okay.
small group.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
One of your supports.
My support.
One of your supports.
See, so the enemy got in a little bit, got that little chink in my armor telling me this is a great thing to pay your house off in 7 years. That wasn't God's plan for me. So now he said, okay, let me crisscross your eyes a little bit and make you dizzy so that you'll sit down and listen to me for a second.
Yeah.
Because, okay, while that sounded great, I didn't tell you that's what you needed to do. And now you're prepared to take yourself away from me. You're setting yourself up for failure. I was about to set myself up for failure out of something very innocent.
Very innocent. Very
extremely innocent.
Nothing sinful, nothing.
Nothing
just very
sinful at all.
Just
but
very innocent.
it was going to take me away from my Father.
Right.
The time that helped get me to where I am, being my small groups. You know?
I think that's another thing that you hit upon, that when you find a rhythm, a routine, a discipline that works, that has worked, I think we need to guard that against things that would come in to try to disrupt that. Again, even things that seem very innocent and benign, to be mindful of that.
And please don't take this because it's a blessing. I don't need the money. I didn't need to do that. You see, that was greed on my part because, after 7 years, I'll only be 67 years old. Girl, I took it upon myself to make a decision for my life without consulting with my Father. And he said, okay, let me sit your little happy self down again. And I'm telling you, vertigo is one of the worst. Oh, my girl.
I've
My
never
whole
had it, so I don't want. I trust you. I
Ah,
trust you. What you say, I've never
it
had it. Don't
was
want it.
crazy.
Yeah, but
And
God knows how to make us
he
be
stopped
still
me.
and slow us
Yeah,
down.
that wasn't
Because
meant for
sometimes
me.
you have to knock me over the head before I was like, oh, okay, this is what you're trying to say.
Yep.
You know, I'm just that person, kind of hard-headed.
And he did.
But
But that just goes to show, and especially when you have a relationship with your Father, he will talk to you.
and that's, I think, one of the most beautiful blessings that came out of your road to recovery, your journey, is your relationship with God
With
was
God.
restored
And
and redeemed.
I beat myself up because, and my scoreball groups will tell you this, because I can't quote a whole bunch of scripture and, all of that kind of stuff. But I have love. I have a desire to live, and I have a desire to serve him, because I know a lot of people that could quote the Bible inside and out, and
Don't have the love.
you know what I mean? And that's all they can do.
Yeah.
So my walk and my journey is just that. It's just for me, and I share it every opportunity that I can get, hoping that it will inspire somebody to just give themselves a break.
And I think it will. I believe there's going to be at least one person, and if it's just one person, it was
Mission
worth
accomplished.
it. It was
Absolutely.
worth it. But I want to thank you, Jeneé, for joining. Thank you first of all, for saying yes. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for the conversation that we had those Sundays ago, that led you to this point, and that you agreed so graciously and humbly to come here and to share your personal testimony, your story of this journey that you're on. And, we just thank God for you, and thank God for your obedience, and thank God for just how He's redeemed your relationships. And thank you for being on.
Just thank you for the opportunity to once again glorify God, because this is not about me at all.
Amen.
It's
Well,
not
thank
about
you.
me. And
Thank
just,
you.
I hope that maybe it will just help another one of his children to put that one foot in front of the other and just come towards him. So I thank you.
You're welcome.
Because it did something for me too.
Thank you for joining us. There'll be more information in the description. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we couldn't do it without you.